and so it kind of clouded my mind quite a bit here and there. And I try to play like competitively in the e-games and all that. So yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
been quite harsh, you know, the games that I kind of play, and there's a lot of politics issues, like human to human, people don't liking each other, that kind of stuff. That's been
Within
a lot.
Dota as well, you're saying?
Right,
Yeah.
in
Or with
Dota,
e-gaming?
yeah, and as well as like back in the army where and the whole department is like a
Yeah.
lot of people who's unhappy with each other, that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's been like a big thing for me, and like I'm trying to like figure out like what's going on, like how is who is right, who is wrong, and yeah, it's a very subjective kind of a thing,
Hmm.
and that's been a very big thing for me right now. Yeah, and just trying to navigate through life in there. Yeah, thinking a lot about stuff. Yeah.
It's funny you bring that up because I was actually just thinking about that too, just randomly because I'm always
Right.
thinking to myself about those things. But was thinking about how disconnected people can be sometimes across organizations or across when you have an entire organization working towards a goal and people aren't aligned on that, and how the disconnect starts to tear the organization apart. I
Right.
think it came to mind because of all the like COVID-19 stuff. Like there's just a lot of people that aren't connected with the issue in the same way. Like some people are very devastated by it, they're losing loved ones from it. And then other people are just going about their daily lives as if nothing's happening.
Right.
And so people are once again getting frustrated with each other. And instead of meeting and connecting, they're just butting heads.
Right. Like it's a lot of like it's just a very rough time to go through, like
Yeah.
sure enough, like people start to disconnect or what's so not, but I think that people will start to realize something more, because after
Hmm.
like taking a step back, yeah, people may start to look in a bigger picture, they
Hmm.
may realize like different things that they did not expect, like oh shit, like right now like we can't interact as much, and they will be more appreciative in the for what actually happened in the past that they
Hmm.
can't do right now,
Hmm.
so that's, I think that's what I'm thinking about, yeah.
Gotcha.
Right,
Yeah.
so like you
That's a lot to
cool,
think
yeah.
about.
Right, so I think we can just straight off like start proper, and I think this time around I would like to lean towards more talking about your lifestyle, your mindset, things that has been happening, like your music wise, your career wise, yeah.
Okay. I feel like we usually do talk about that. So there must be something specific that you want us to talk about that I haven't really touched upon yet, then, yeah?
Right. Because I like to open it up for the things that you actually really want to talk about, like things that is in your mind. I think this is sort of like a reflection kind of a thing, I'll say.
Hmm.
Like it's a very good way for you to like self-assess yourself, like things that is not being talked about that is in your mind. That's what
Yeah.
the main purpose of this whole thing that I like to bring across for like different people, that people can kind of like relate to the things that you kind of say, that
Yeah.
oh yeah, like yeah, and
Yeah.
I hope that can brings a lot of like awareness and all that kind of stuff, all the good stuff,
I like that. I kind of wish I knew that more in your branding as well. If you like branded yourself more along the lines like this isn't just a podcast for the
Right.
listeners. It's also it's even more so a podcast for the interviewee,
Right,
right?
right.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of like as I'm going along doing this podcast. Initially, I definitely did not have like a definite way to brand my this whole podcast thing.
Yeah.
It's pretty much like in the process, I slowly kind of find like where I'm interested into, and yeah, that's where I want to lean towards to for now. Like I find that super interesting for me to actually find out about like actually by me listening to you, I can learn a lot. Like
Yeah. And
right,
you're aiming specifically at everyone you're interviewing. You want to know want to be a part of the reflection process. And so this interview is really capturing the reflection process across different people is what it
Right.
sounds like the goal of it is, which is amazing. I don't know if I've actually
Right.
seen a like I know interviews, and interviews people are usually trying to pick their brain, but I don't know of many interview shows where it's like, I want this to be us capturing your genuine reflection experience. Now, when you pose it like that, it makes me, I think I get a better understanding of what you're looking for in our conversation, and then it also gives me a better mindset of how I should be coming into the conversation.
Right. Cool. Cool.
Yeah,
Cool. Yes, because it's like kind of like a in the process kind of a thing. Like I'm trying to think of like good ways for like my guests to actually things for them to actually talk about, and so that people who are listening, they will be interested. That kind of
yeah,
stuff. Yeah, I think that's a
yeah.
lot of good stuff that you can talk about, because like in the few times that we actually do, I find there's a lot of good stuff that you actually talk about that I
I
think people
appreciate it. Yeah.
may find interested into. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, podcasting is always something I've considered doing myself. So getting on a podcast with someone else that I consider a friend, that's way more fun. So
Right.
appreciate being here.
Yeah. Cool shit. Cool shit. So yeah, I mean we can just start proper, and I think that things that I really want to lean towards to is pretty much like things that has been your mind very recently, and all the kind of stuff that you're going through, probably about all those experiences and all that, and
Yeah.
what's forward looking for you, what are goals, what is there any changes in the direction that you are kind of like taking, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we can definitely talk about that. That's been on my mind a lot the past couple weeks actually. So that's great.
All right, cool. So yeah, I think with that, I think we can just start off right over here right now. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Okay,
You want
cool.
to kick it off?
Yeah. So yeah, Ali, like how has it been? Like how you feeling like these few days with regards to all this like COVID-19, and then we also about your lifestyle. Yeah, like what's what's in your mind right now? Like what are your thoughts about?
Yeah, man. So it's been interesting. COVID-19 has stirred the pot a lot. I mean, my pot was already stirring a little bit with um, ending a relationship, which I knew was going to end. But
Right.
um, whenever I get out of a relationship, I try to be very, like I was telling you before, I try to be very passive at first to like let the emotions happen, and then after like some time when the emotions are less raw is when I'll start focusing on like, okay, I'm back to being single. I'm back to just me. It's time to ask myself, like, what are the real things I want to be doing? So I was going through the heat of reflection the past couple weeks and just asking myself, like, you know, what are my things? Like, I go every day, I spend like 8 hours at work. Am I enjoying it? Am I enjoying it enough for it to be worth all that time and life investment? And is it aligned with who I want to be in the future? Right.
Right.
Um, so fortunately, the conversation with work like ended up being a positive one for me. It was like, yes, this is still what I want to be. I'm growing into it. And I've actually taken more of a passive approach to my work ethic because I was reminded that I really like this job. I enjoy it, and there's a lot of things I love about it. But in the end, like it was really just meant to be a source of income for me, and that's kind of takes away some of like the stress from it. And it's like, okay, if I treat this as like just that source of income, that emotional investment can go into the things I truly consider a part of me, right? And the time and attention. So that's where, like, just in the past like week, I think last Sunday. So it hasn't even been 7 days, but last Sunday I went on a walk
Right.
and I was talking to myself because I'm weird like that, and I love just going on walks and talking to myself.
Right. I think that's a beautiful thing, like you talking to yourself and all that. Like it's kind of like a deep moments for yourself, like
Yeah,
very good
yeah.
self-assessment for yourself to like things
Oh
that
yeah,
you have not like take the time to actually think about, you know.
yeah. I was telling my roommate that whenever I get into like a trying time where I'm feel like I'm kind of losing touch with my actual goals, and I'm just like going around on my kind of fleeting animalistic wants, like, playing games, socializing, and drinking. Like those things aren't inherently bad, but I think they're bad if they're all you're doing and you're not actually actively investing in who you are and what you value, right?
Right.
So, I mean, the first week where I quarantined at home to be safe and I was working from home, I was like, just every day was like, can I play some games? Sitting around watching YouTube, socializing on the phone. But I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm at home. Like, all this music equipment and stuff is around me. Like, you can only see that keyboard, but like, there's
Right.
microphones, there's speakers right here on the other side of the computer. I've got guitars all around me as well. There's so much opportunity to make music and work on my album, and I'm just like sitting here, and it was daunting. It was starting to weigh on me, and I was getting to a headspace where it's like just disappointment in myself.
Right.
And I've gone down that rabbit hole, especially just like a couple years ago, after college. College was my whole experience in college was like every day I'd wake up and all I could think to myself is, why aren't I making music? I'm instead doing this thing that doesn't mean anything to me. Why am I even doing that? And when you
Right.
do that for like 5 years, the damage it does to your mental health, your self confidence, your internal ability to achieve is devastating. And it took several years to recover from that mindset.
Right.
So when I was sitting at home and feeling that mindset coming back, I was like, "Oh, hell no."
Right.
Because I think that's the approach you have to have. I was actively and accountably saying, "Hell fucking no. I'm not going back to that." And so what I did was I like sat down, I like listed out the things that what I go by is I said, what are my wants right now?
Right.
Like what are the things that I truly want for myself? The things that I know I'm not participating in right now, but I know if I did participate in them, I would be growing into someone I could be proud of and growing into or investing in myself in the ways I've always wanted to invest in myself in. Um, the second thing I did was
Right.
I went over my needs. Like it's an odd time with COVID-19,
Right.
but I still ask myself, like, what do you know about yourself from your usual lifestyle? What are your true needs to like sustain your happiness? Which for me is like I had to really acknowledge like I'm a social person. Like lack of social interaction
Mm.
is really hard for me if I'm not getting that human interaction or the
Right.
joy of just being stupid and laughing with friends. Like
Right.
without that, I get so unhappy and like everything else seems meaningless
Right.
if I don't have that true sense of joy.
I find that so relatable, like I also feel
Yeah.
that a lot of times for myself as well. Whenever like I don't get to speak to the people and all that kind of stuff, I feel so down and just really upset about stuff, in general. And yeah, man, like I think humans to human connection is really important to actually, I think it just indirectly lifts up your mood and all that kind of stuff, all the good stuff there. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is why I think during the initial week I was like so heavy on the um, you know, doing video calls and phone calls. Like I was having them for hours
Right.
just daily. And it was like, this is great. I'm staying in touch with people. But you can overinvest in that, right? You can do something. It's like how you can overinvest in a drug. Like it's just or overspend time on Instagram. Like all of it is bad if you overindulge. So I acknowledged it as a need, but I reminded myself like it's just a need. So just satisfy the need and then let's spend the time that we can on our wants. Because when you spend time on your wants while satisfying your needs, that's how you really become the optimal version of yourself, I think, because you're satisfying what you need to be happy and like sustainable, and at the same time you're achieving what you want to be and growing yourself into more of the person you want to be. And one day, when you go after your wants enough, I think the wants convert to needs, and it just becomes an integral part of you that you can't the gym since they were like in high school. The concept, like not going to the gym, going to, for me, one of the like wants finally get like act back to like it's not a lot of running. I think the long like maybe six. I used to run like 20 to the regular. For me, I always was like, I'm like, I want to beat myself up. I'm like, oh, you're so far behind. You're nowhere near what you used to be. Da da da. You're so slow. But like, all I care about right now is like, let's just build the habit. Like, this is the want. Like, it's not about getting to the end goal, but it is about doing the action. So
Right.
those are very high level things. To go into like the grits of my exact wants was, I wanted to make the album finally. So um, I already got a lot of the songs done for the album, but I started working on even more of them.
Right.
And a big reason for the having the job I have and making the money I'm making,
Right.
I save all of it because I was waiting for the next economic downturn to start investing that money and doing something with it
Right.
to prepare myself for the part of my life where I just leave this career and go full force into just music and poetry and my creative world. But I knew like for me to do that, I had to satisfy my financial needs so I could safely go about that creativity and not be afraid to focus on it.
Right.
So those were the three main things. And if we break it down to the real basics, it's health, wealth, and last time we were talking about Milo's hierarchy of needs, and the hierarchy of needs is start with your health, then talk about your wealth, then talk about your love. And when you do those three things, you've created the foundation for you to find happiness. So it was
Right.
really funny for me writing down those wants and then realizing like, oh, those wants are just Milo's hierarchy of needs. I'm trying to prioritize the things that I know are going to be the foundation of my happiness. That right now I'm just being lazy and not doing.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, like the thing that you've been mentioning about is like taking actions and not just like I think not just like thinking about it and all that kind of stuff. And yeah,
Yeah.
like you putting the work, like you having like the main job and you doing the side hustle, the music stuff for you. Like how do you think how do you think like you assessing it yourself, like how much effort you are putting in, like do you feel like there's a lot of like down days for you, like how is it for you juggling this kind of a thing, because it's obviously very tiring for you to actually keep on the grind and keep on the hustling, saving the money and just keep on going, like going, like
Yeah.
yeah, how do you think about like you handling all those?
Particular, like as I focus on doing research and how to create, economic wealth. I started feeling pride, like pride. Was very for even these micro actions, even though they're just like small steps in the direction of who I want to be. I felt proud. There were some really hard days though, right? So I had a day where I was, oh, you still
Whoops.
there?
Yeah, I think there's a disconnection, that kind of
Oh
stuff.
man.
Right.
Okay. How's the recording? Still good?
Yeah, it's still cool. Yeah, you can just continue. Right.
Okay.
Cool.
Um, sorry I lost you there, but yeah, let's.
Right.
So there was a day where I was just overbooked, and I went like straight from work to like gaming with friends to like a D&D campaign, and then right after that, which ended at like 12:30, I had to do work for my job still. So I did work for my job at like 12:30 a.m. I went to bed at like 1. I woke up at 7 a.m. for work because I still had things to do early in the morning for work. And then I was working until like 5 p.m. And it was like, oh man, after all of that, I have to go for a run, you know. I want to work on music still today. This was yesterday. Um,
Right.
like I feel like I'm overdoing it. But what I found was there was those like a moment I was just like after I'd worked out and I'd ran, and I was on the phone with some friends, and I was just lying like on my bed, like right there,
Right.
just on the ground, just like sitting there on the bed, like falling asleep. I was like, I am so exhausted. And all I could think was like, okay, if I just get through this like lull of exhaustion, I'm gonna get energy again. And when I get that energy again, because I'm getting past like the body has a normal cycle where like it gets this moment of tiredness, and then if you can stay awake through it, like you'll start to wake up again and be able to do things for a few more hours.
That's really
And
interesting. I think I feel that as well. Yeah.
yeah, I've noticed it when I was in high school because I would go like all day. I would go to like my after school like workout for cross country or something. Then I would come home and almost every day at 6 o'clock, from 6 to 7, I would want to pass out so bad. So I always just got on the couch. I played video games. I watched TV. I did absolutely my best to not fall asleep, just but like completely relaxed. And then exactly at like 7 o'clock, I would like get up. I would go to my desk and I would start my homework. And I would have enough energy to stay awake until midnight.
Right.
And so, um, and that's how I learned about that. And so I knew that about myself. And because I knew that about myself, I said, Ollie, yeah, I know you're tired. Like it was a rough 24 hours. Like you did a lot of fun things in 24 hours, but you still pushed your body. Like I had to sleep. Like that's not great. Um, so I was like, just, as soon as you get energy again, like be ready for that. So I got to my laptop. I like opened up, turned on all my music stuff. I opened my projects. I knew exactly what I was going to work on. So the second I had the energy to like get up from the floor, even while I was on the phone with my friend still, I started working on music. I just started it. And,
Right.
there's a good rule of thumb that's like, start working on something, tell yourself you're going to work on it for 10 minutes. And, if after 10 minutes you're like, I'm kind of done, like, I really, really don't want to do this, like, fine. Clearly, this isn't the time to do it. Just stop. You can do it another time, another day. Um,
Right.
but odds are, if it's something you truly want to be doing, but you're just a bit lazy, because we're all a bit lazy,
Right.
once you start that 10 minutes, that non-daunting, like just like easy 10 minutes, you're gonna end up accidentally going for like 3 hours. So that's what happened. I just started working on music for like 3 hours. And
Right. Cool.
yeah, I'm trying to remember the exact question you had on that to make sure I answered it.
Right. I think you're going
But
on the right way, on the right direction.
yeah, because we're specifically talking about like, how do I feel right now? How do I keep going in that grind,
Right.
back to
Right.
back to back? Yeah.
Right.
Um, that's where that accountability I was talking about comes in, right? I had that conversation with myself on Sunday. It was like I spent a whole week
Right.
just doing what I instinctively wanted to do, which by the way, like on that reflection list that I had,
Right. That's what I want to go into, like you
yeah,
doing that, that's like a very good way to kind of like do a self-assessment check. What are my
yeah,
goals?
it's so
What are the
important.
wants?
Yeah. So first one was wants, the second one was needs, but the last one was hates. I
Oh,
was
okay.
very, very strict with my word choice. Like, what are the things you absolutely hate? Because like these are the things holding you back from who you want to be, but you keep indulging in them. Like, why do you keep doing it? I wanted to label them as hate, so every time I was doing them, I could remember how unhappy I was after the fact. If every time I associate one of these acts with the emotion of hate instead of the emotion of like comfort that they usually give me,
Right.
then I'm going to be less likely to enjoy it. I'm going to be less proud. I'm constantly trying to stay in the moment of like which action right now is going to make me the most proud of who I am today. And so the things on my hate list are like YouTube, watching YouTube for like an hour or two,
Right.
or like scrolling on Instagram for an hour or two, or um, binging socializing, like I talked about. Like, okay, I had a good 2 hour conversation with some friends. Do I really need to continue having like, do I need to call up another friend and another friend and another friend and like have like 5 hours worth of conversation in a day
Right.
instead of just going to my piano and like playing some piano for like a
Right.
couple hours and then going and reading a book for a couple hours or something like. And then the last one was binging anime because I love anime, like.
Right.
But I had a day not last week but the week before, so 2 weeks ago, when I was doing that stint of just indulging in those hates by not on purpose. It was because of the quarantine and like when I'm sitting at home, that's unfortunately the things I'm more likely to do.
Right.
Um, I like stayed up till 4 a.m. one night watching anime, and then I had to be up the next morning for work, and I was like, "What the hell's wrong with me? Why did I do that?" Like, I'm so disappointed in myself right now. And ah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's those moments that I don't want to live for.
Right.
I try to be accountable and remind myself like this is not what I want to live for. I want to live for my wants, and for the things that make me joyous.
Right. I feel
So
that it's a very good way to actually do a mental switch, saying that these are the things that I don't really want to do and all that kind of stuff. Because
yeah,
I almost feel like I am not like holding enough like accountability to my actions whenever like things like this happen, like a very bad habit of like binge watching YouTube, that kind of stuff, or
yeah,
people.
binge watching Gary V.
Right, right. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. That
I've done that.
that will be okay, I think. Yeah. So yeah, like I think that holding accountability to all your actions is a way to go because I kind of can relate to the things that you're actually talking about. Like I myself, I do video journaling, and then I'll kind of like watch what I say. Like I said this particular stuff that I'm gonna do or how am I gonna behave, and then me thinking back, okay, I should be doing that. Like holding accountability to our own words is such a powerful way to keep yourself onto track, onto the things that you really want to do, especially towards
Yeah.
your goals and all that. So yeah, that's super interesting for me. Yeah. So like you having those like down days, like what is the like a mechanism for you to actually get back onto the state of like happiness? Because I think that you actually talk a lot about like making sure that you are happy whenever you're living, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So, even though I talk so much about accountability,
Right.
knowing who you are, and how to be patient to know who you are, um, I mean, I've got plenty of friends that'll tell you how much I struggle with my own mental health and have struggled in the past because before I was more calm and patient and loving of myself, I was more hating and resentful and disappointed in myself first. And so whenever I find myself going back down that rabbit hole, the first thing I really did practice was like that's acknowledging my worth and loving myself and being like no matter how little you do with your life, it's still your life, and the only thing it has to be is your life. It doesn't have to. You don't have to be Gary Vaynerchuk. You don't have to be
Right.
Barack Obama. You don't have to be someone famous and successful that changed the world forever. You just have to be you. Like the people I just mentioned were just them. That's what made them so special and noticed, and people listened to them. How genuinely they were just themselves. So the reality is sometimes who you are is like someone that's just sitting on your couch watching anime or
Right.
watching TV or um it's just a matter of when you choose to be that thing, choose to be it. Don't
Mm.
passively be it. Um because when you're passively being something, you don't when you don't take accountability for the action, when you don't live in the present with what you're doing, it's not really a part of you. It's passing through you, and you start to feel emptier and emptier the more time you let it pass through you because you start to notice just how hollow you are.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just like a feeling of like just letting things be, like letting it just flow, and you'll feel so empty in you.
Yeah.
Like you don't feel like it's meaningful. You don't feel the purpose. Like you don't feel the intention. I can kind of relate to that a lot, because I think in the
Yeah.
past I kind of like, just go with the flow. Anything that
Yeah.
people wants me to do, like a certain stuff, sure, yeah, sure. Like it almost feels like I don't really have like the my thoughts, my own 2 feet, the things that I really want to speak through my mind, out of my mind,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and I feel that I feel so much more energy whenever I get into the zone, speak off my mind and that kind of stuff. It just feels so much lighter and just feels so much better, like in general,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's real, and you know, one example of it that I think you'll appreciate is I used to have a really bad habit of just like like I would binge play video games for like 8 to 12 hours a day, like, and that's not actually playing, enjoying the game, is not being with the game. That's just doing something to pass the time. I feel like, especially if it's like I was playing Smite for a while.
Right,
Um, and with like Smite, that game is really fun. Like I really enjoyed it, but I had a hard time controlling how many hours I played. So um, I tried to like keep it to 2 hours a day. But you start a game and you're like, oh, that game didn't end the way I want it to, or oh,
right,
I I'm still invested in it, or things are going so well, I want to play another one, or oh, maybe I like it's like 15 minutes before that 2 hour mark, so maybe I'll start a game and hopefully it'll be done in 15 minutes. Like that stuff starts to happen and it creeps. And if you're not careful, that's fine on a good day where like after that extra time, you're like, okay, I am done. But on a bad day, it just keeps going. And know that 2 hours becomes like you are now at bedtime and you're like, oh shit, I didn't do any of the other things I wanted to do today. And that's what I don't like, because
right,
I've done that so much, and I've done it with anime. Like, oh, I'm just going to watch the first 3 episodes, and then all of a sudden I finish the season, right?
right,
Or oh, I'm just going to watch this one YouTube video, and all of a sudden I've watched all their YouTube videos for the past month. Like, those are my personal, like, issues and like the things that I have historically struggled with, but everyone's got them. Like, there are some people that, they're supposed to just look at their friends' Instagrams, but then all of a sudden they're like scrolling through this random commenter's like entire history and telling themselves like, this person's doing such amazing thing. What have I done? And they're just judging themselves and being hollow and going through the motions. That's not okay. When you open Instagram to say, I'm here to look at my friends' posts and that's all I need. That accountability, that's how I know that you're living in the present. You're doing it for the right reasons, and you don't have to worry about that hollowness growing inside you and you starting to feel that disappointment. But it's when we let go of that accountability, that presence in the moment with our the actions we're doing, um, that's when you start to feel disappointment. That's when you
right.
start to feel um, regret, and you start to judge yourself instead of
Mm,
enjoying yourself and enjoying your day and being proud of yourself.
right, right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of like it's a very great place to actually a very great head space, a mind space to actually think about and being thoughtful. I think the whole game is about just being really thoughtful about like all these different subject matters that we are kind of like going through and all that. And at the end of the day, I think it's just not being overly judgmental towards like having like too much self doubts about yourself. Like be
Yeah,
okay, just go on with life and all that. So like with the final question that I kind of like want to ask you is like
yeah,
you from now, like you talk about your wants and the things that you want to achieve for your music and all that. Like so what's ahead of you right now? Like what are things
hmm,
forward and the actions that you're gonna do and take? And yeah, this is a moment for you to hold accountability to your words, like
exactly.
right,
So,
and then you can kind
yeah,
of look back towards this video. I said that I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna execute that. I'm not just full of talks and all that. Yeah,
yeah. So that's actually I had that moment last night too. Like I was
that's
tired and on
cool.
the phone with my friends working on music, and I noticed the date. It was March 27th yesterday, right? And um, I was like, it's March. It's almost the end of March. Like April is coming. Uh, I told myself I'm making an album this year. Uh, and then I counted. I was like, okay, I sent 5 songs to my producer, but I
Hmm,
still have 8 left, right? And I told my producer that I would send him all of my side of the compositions before like May or June. And I was like, well, it's the end of March. Like, if this is happening, I've got to compose the other 8 in like a month or two. Are my actions mapping to what I'm saying? And
right,
it was that accountability. It was like, okay. And then there was the other accountability of like I've been talking a lot about like I'm saving my money, and then when when the stock market and like things aren't as crazy, because we were in like a bull run. I don't know how much you know about the US stock market, but
right,
everything was at a high. So for me to start investing then was it didn't make sense because I wasn't going to make a profit. I was going to lose money. So because of that, I've been talking for like a year or two like I'm going to save and I'm going to keep saving, but the second I noticed things finally go down, and I didn't expect it to be for these unfortunate reasons. I thought it would just be a recession, like a normal recession. Um, that's when I'm going to take the time, financially invest, get financially savvy. And so I was looking at the valuations in the stock market and stuff, and I was like,
right,
this is the time. Like we've spent 2 years talking that when this comes, we're going to open our books, we're going to get down, we're going to do the work, we're going to learn, and we're going to start putting the money where it needs to go and taking that risk, right?
right.
Yeah, I use the word risk when I have this conversation with myself because
Hmm.
I want to, I don't want to lie to myself and like live in the comfort. I don't want to stay comfy. I
Hmm.
want to grow into someone that isn't afraid of risk. So when I use the word risk, like, yes, this is a financial risk. I'm taking my money and I'm putting it somewhere and I don't know what's going to happen to it in the future. But it's less about like the financial gain. It's a lot more about the personal growth of instead of leaving my money in the bank and cash, like preparing myself for a safe living, I'm investing in risk. I'm investing in being a riskier person, someone that's unafraid, someone that's willing to take a chance on the things they value. And right
Right,
now it's with money, but that lack of fear with money is going to transfer to other parts of my life. So I'm less afraid to take risks with my music, less afraid to take risks with my career. And yeah, when we talk about accountability and
right.
this exact moment,
Hmm.
like that's what I'm thinking about. It's like the thing, what did I tell myself not just now, but what did I tell myself at the beginning of this year? What this album, like I started working on this album like 8 years ago.
Right,
And so at the beginning of this year I said, I'm finally the person I need to be. I finally have enough knowledge, enough skills, enough support to make this album. There's no more excuses left. This is the time. It's happening now. And so I'm a quarter through the year and I'm looking at myself and saying, dude, do it. Like, don't just do it. Like, it's like Shia LaBeouf said, just
Right.
do it.
Right. Just do it.
And that's why I'm using that word accountability because um, I want to be accountable to what I said I was going to do, and it's nice being able to say it again here and like have everyone who's listening and you as a friend like holding
Right.
me accountable too. So the next time we talk, you're going to be like, "How many songs have you done?" I'm gonna be like, "Dude, they're all done." Or I'm gonna say, "I haven't done shit." And then when I say I haven't done a shit, you're gonna be like, "Well, you're gonna feel like shit unless you do something. So get off this podcast and go do your work." Is like, and
Right.
that's what it's about.
Right. I think that's super cool. Like you actually like you already did it. Like you actually like said it to yourself and all that kind of stuff. Like before we actually do this whole podcast thing. So I find that you're pretty much on the path. Like of being very thoughtful about like the things that you got to be thinking about. What are my wants? What are the things that I need to do to actually meet all the needs? Like
Yeah,
I just find it like super interesting, and yeah,
yeah,
super grateful to have you here once again, Ali. Like it's a great talk. Like I
yeah.
always have fun like actually listening to you, the things that you actually talk about. Like that's so relatable to me, and that's why it's
I'm
always a
glad.
good time to talk to you.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure being here. It's always fun, and I always want to make sure that it is relatable, not just for the listeners, but for you too, because you're spending the time to create this environment for all of us, this community, and I want to make sure you're getting something out of it too.
Right, cool. So with that, I think any last words you kind of want to say, like probably some like I don't know, like any big words that you like are thinking about to share. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So that same thing of like, if you're reflecting, really asking yourself, what do you want to be in life? What do you need to be? What do you know already that you need to sustain happiness and joy in life? And then ask yourself, what are you doing right now that you hate? Like, what do you hate to do that leaves you with just disappointment? And then once you can very tangibly state what those things are, just bullet list them. um, you can start building the micro actions and the tasks to fight against them. And the key thing I wanted to recommend is anyone that's after you do that, learn about habits. There's a really good Hidden Brains podcast on NPR, and there's one called Creatures of Habits that came out in the past few months. I already knew about habits, but not everyone does. And the simple things they talk about in this 1 hour long podcast can be life changing. And how you learn how to grow into who you want to be and how you develop the habits to be that person. So, best of luck to everyone. And I wish you the best.
right, cool. So like with that, thank you, Ali. Thanks
Yeah,
for joining me to this whole podcast thing.
no
Yeah,
worries. Can't wait for the next one.
cool stuff, man.